Hi Silem stars, welcome back to my channel. Silem here. Let me know your name in the comment section. In today's video, I'm going to teach you all how to make an off-shoulder dress with elastic band. This off-shoulder dress also has puffy sleeves with elastic on the hem of the sleeves. So if you want to see how we do this, definitely keep on watching.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
So I've gone ahead now to fold my fabric into four. Now the width of my fabric is the hip divided by 4 plus 4 inches. That's how wide my fabric is. Now at the top of the fabric, I've just marked the baseline. From that baseline downwards, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. Now this 1.5 inches is the elastic channel allowance. So this is the allowance that I'm going to use to create the elastic channel. So from that baseline, just mark 1.5 inches. Now, because of the fabric that is so colorful, you can't see my chalk. So I've gone ahead to mark a white line with while editing so that you guys can see the line I'm talking about. So as you can see, I folded my fabric into four. And where I have the double fold is my center front and center back. Now, since this is an off shoulder, I'm going to take out 5 inches from the shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to place that 5-inch mark of my tape on that elastic channel allowance. Okay, so I've placed the 5 inches there, and then I'm just marking the armhole line. The armhole line for my clients is 9 inches. Okay, so that's what I'm marking. Now the next thing I'm going to mark is the length of the dress. The armhole line is the royal blue line you see on the screen, while the length of the dress is the sky blue line that you see on the screen. Okay, this is just to help you see where the lines are on the fabric. Okay, since my chalk is not showing very well. Now on the elastic channel allowance line in white, I'm just going to divide the bust circumference by 4, and I'm going to mark that on that white line, and then I'm going to draw a curve to connect that to the armhole line. Okay, and make sure that this curve gets to the edge of the fabric. You can see that the curve is in yellow, so it gets to the edge of the fabric, and that's going to serve as the armhole line. So I'm just cutting along that curve and also cutting along the length of the dress. Then I'm also cutting along the fold to separate my piece into two, the front and the back piece. Okay, so the front and the back pieces are exactly the same. All right, now moving on to the sleeve, I folded my sleeve, as you can see, into four. Now from the edge of the fabric, that's the top, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. Now this is also the elastic channel allowance, the same 1.5 elastic channel allowance that we did for our dress. We're also doing that for the sleeve. Okay, because the elastic is also going to get to the sleeve. So after I've marked that line, I'm just going to mark the length of my sleeve. This is going to be a puffy sleeve, so I want the sleeve length to be long enough. So the length I want my sleeve to be is 20 inches. All right, 20 inches is the length I want my sleeve to be. Now there's also going to be elastic at the hem of this sleeve, so I'm also going to add an extra 1.5 inches allowance for the elastic channel at the bottom of the sleeve. So 20 plus 1.5 will give us 21.5. So that is the full length of my sleeve, including the um elastic channel allowance at the bottom. Now since this is an off shoulder, I'm also taking out that 5 inches, placing it on that elastic channel allowance line, and then I'm marking that same armhole line, which is 9 inches. All right, now on the armhole line, I'm going to divide the round sleeve measurements by 2. I'm going to mark that, and then I added 3 inches allowance to that. I added 3 inches allowance because I want the sleeve to be big, so by the time we put in the elastic, it becomes full and puffy. Okay, so that's what I did. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just cut along the edge of the fabric. Okay, so once you've gotten your round sleeve plus 3 inches, just cut off the excess. Now I'm just taking my dress, and then I'm aligning the armhole line on the edge of the sleeve, as you can see. So I'm just going to go now and trace the curve of the armhole. Okay, so just trace that armhole curve on your dress, trace it on your sleeve. Okay, this is the easiest way to do it because you want the sleeve armhole and the dress armhole to align perfectly, so when you're sewing you don't run into any trouble. So I'm just going to go now and just cut that out. Very, very simple, guys. Then I'm also cutting, the hem of the sleeve as well. Make sure you add your elastic channel at the top and at the bottom of the sleeve. So this is what the sleeve looks like after cutting. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the sewing. Now to sew, I'm just going to fold my sleeve like so, and then I'm going to close the the side, okay, the side of the sleeve. Just make sure that the right sides are facing each other and you're sewing on the wrong side. Now moving on to the pockets, I ran out of fabric for this piece, so I'm just going to be using this black doll face satin fabric to create my inseam pockets. Now for the pockets, I want the pockets to be 10 inches long, okay? So you want your pocket to be very long. So by long, I mean deep. This is how deep the pocket is going to be. So 10 inches is how deep I want my pockets to be, all right? So I'm just going to draw a curve with my free hand. Now, one end of the pocket, I want it to be 7 inches. Okay, that's the width. I want it to be 7 inches. And then I'm just going to draw a curve to connect to that 7-inch mark. So this is the kind of shape you want for your pocket. It's really, really easy to draft a pocket that's an inseam pocket. Very, very easy and straightforward. Once you have the right um depth for your pocket or length, once you have the right length and width for your pocket, you're good to go. So I just went ahead to cut 4 pieces of the pockets. All right, now this is what my front and back pieces look like. Now to place my pockets, I'm just placing that 5-inch mark on the edge or on the top part of my dress. Remember, we took out 5 inches, and then I'm just going ahead to mark the waistline plus 3 inches. Now that is where I want my pockets to start from. So the waistline is 17 inches plus 3 inches. That gives us 20 inches. That's where my pocket is starting from. So I'm just marking that point on both sides. Okay. Now I'm placing the pocket right sides facing with the dress, and then I'm just pinning it at that point. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and sew the pocket to the dress at that point that I pinned it. I'll do the same thing for the other side. This is just for the front piece. You do the same thing for the back piece as well. That is why you have 4 pocket pieces. You want 2 pockets in front on the front piece, and you want 2 pockets on the back piece. Okay. So once I'm done joining, this is what we have. I've gone ahead to also join it for the back piece as well. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place the front piece and the back piece right sides facing like so. As you can see, I've placed them right sides facing. Now I'm going to sew from the armhole there around the pocket and all the way down to the hem. I'll do the same thing for the other side from the armhole, sew all the way down around the pocket and all the way down to the hem. You can join this with 1-inch seam allowance. Now this is my sleeve. I've gone ahead to join the sleeve like I showed you. So this is what the sleeve looks like. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the elastic channel for the sleeve at the bottom of the sleeve. So I've gone ahead to just fold my piece. I'm using a 1/2 inch wide elastic for the bottom part of my sleeve. So just fold your piece like you're hemming it, fold it twice, but make sure that the channel you have is wide enough to accommodate your elastic. Okay, very important. So when you're sewing it, make sure you leave a space that your elastic will pass through and then come out of. All right, so after sewing the elastic channel on the sleeve, now it's time for me to join the sleeve to the dress. So I'm just moving my dress so I can look at the side seam of the dress. I'm now going to align the side seam of the sleeve with the side seam of the dress. Okay, so just watch what I'm doing. Align the side seams together. Okay, so just pin them together, and then all you have to do now is just align the armhole of the sleeve with the armhole of the dress. Okay, they are both curved, the armholes are both curved. Okay, so just align the curve and just pin them together. Because you use the dress armhole to cut the sleeve armhole is going to fit perfectly, so it's going to be very easy for you to just align the armholes together. So do it from the seam to one end and from the seam to the other end. Okay, Now after pinning them, all you have to do now is just sew along that armhole curve in order to join the sleeve with the dress. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the belt. This dress is going to have a belt. Just because it's a very free dress, it needs that belt to give that snatched waist effect. So the length of my belt is twice the waist circumference. So the waist circumference is 31 inches times 2. That gives us 62 inches. So that's how long this belt is. So I'm just going ahead now to cut the label. The width of this belt is 5 inches. All right, that's the width of the belt. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fold it lengthwise like this, close one end, and we're going to sew along the length of the belt and then turn it to the right side. So as you can see now, I've put in both sleeves on the dress. This is what it looks like. So now I'm going to fold the off shoulder part. I'm going to fold it twice, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around. Now I'm going to leave about 1.5 inches gap where I'm not going to sew, because that's where my elastic is going to enter into and come out of. As you can see, I'm using a 1 inch wide elastic for the shoulder. After creating the elastic channel, I'm simply going to insert the elastic. Okay, to insert the elastic, I simply used a broomstick and I tied the elastic to the broomstick securely with a thread. You can also use a safety pin for this, but I really don't like to use a safety pin. So just pass it through that opening you created, and then just pass it gently all the way round till you come out at the same part that you started from. Now, the length of the elastic you want to use is your round off shoulder measurement minus 5 inches. So subtract 5 inches from your normal round off shoulder measurement so that the elastic is nice and fitted once you insert it. Okay, so now this is what we have. I'm just going to trim off the excess. So the two ends of the elastic, I'm going to join them together so that it's nice and secured. And after that, I'm going to allow the elastic enter into the channel, and then I'm going to close that part of the channel that I had left open in order to pass my elastic. Okay, so after I'm done with that, this is what it looks like. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the 1/2 inch wide elastic into the hem of the sleeve. Now for the length of the elastic you need for your sleeve, what you need is your round sleeve measurement minus 4 inches. That's the length of your elastic. Now go ahead and pass that into the channel, and then sew the ends of the elastic together, and then close that part that you left open on the channel. Just close it and do the same thing for the other side as well. Now the final thing we have to do is simply hem the bottom part of our sleeve, guys, and it is all done. This is the belt that we created, and this is what the pocket looks like as well. As you can see, is nice and neat. This is the finished look, guys. I really love this fabric. It is really lovely, floral. It's just really beautiful. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.